Hi, how's it going? I'm Marlena. Thanks for wandering by. Today I'm doing the Tag Coffee House decks. I don't know if you guessed, well, you probably see from the title, but I'm super stoked to do this particular tag. I know it's been out for a little while, but I just, now kind of found out about it and wanted to make the time to do it. And I love the tarot, but I love coffee. So I brought this out here because, oh my gosh, it needs some washing, but it's an old, this is a cafetera. My parents are from Cuba, so I grew up on Cuban coffee. So it's like espresso, and you drink it it's little shots. So little shots of espresso, lots of sugar. So I brought out my my little tiny Cuban coffee cup, espresso cup, and my cafetera for my decoration. And I just wanted to show you, for those of you that may have never had Cuban coffee, you're missing out for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to have it with me, bring my roots with me for this super fun tag. I guess I'll put it over here. So there are a lot of categories here, 13 total. So we'll just go ahead and jump right in. So the first category is the Espresso Shot, a deck that is strong, punchy, and gets straight to the point. So I chose for that the Bianco Nero Tarot. It's, for kind of obvious reasons, a black and white deck gets straight to the point. I feel like I don't see this deck enough around the tarot tubes, and it's so good. I really do enjoy black and white decks. I really like this one. It is essentially a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, but the line work and the black and white of it makes it really strong. It's very punchy. It doesn't hold back. It just kind of cuts through everything. And I think it's definitely because it's a black and white deck. It's so pretty too. I don't use this deck enough. I did a lot, not in 2022, in 2021, this was one of my go-to decks. Yeah, look at that tower. It is RWS, but it has like all these intricate details that make it just its own sort of, its own sort of strong voice. That's how I feel about it. That moon card is gorgeous, right? Yeah, it reminds me of, a shot of espresso. It definitely doesn't, it definitely does not hold back. And I think when you want something that's like really clear and really to the point, a black and white deck like this one is really, a great choice. So yeah, so that is the Bianco Nero Tarot, a deck that's strong, punchy, and gets straight to the point. Okay, so the next category is the Drip. So a deck that is simple, accessible, and gets the job done. So this is just like your regular, what we call American coffee, drip coffee. This is the Morgan Greer Tarot. This is a vintage printing, but it is available mass market still. And as always, I'm going to put the links below for wherever you can find these decks. So Morgan Greer, if you've been around my channel for even a minute, you'll know that this is one of my favorite decks. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, but it's these close-ups. I love the coloring. This is my go-to deck for reading for other people. I have it in the tin version as well. This deck it's simple. It just gets the job done. Like I said, it's not it's not fancy schmancy. It's, but it is accessible. Like, oh my gosh, everything is upside down. It's familiar to me. I've used it so much. Probably my most used deck of all is my Morgan Greer, the tin version. Actually, I should have grabbed that little guy out, but I like to have the big one as well. I love it. I love this deck so much. I love that 9 of Pentacles. Oh my gosh, so good. I love the colors. I love these characters. I know their faces. I know their story. I know what they're trying to tell me. That's probably my favorite 3 of Cups of all. Maybe tied for the Line Strider Tarot. Anyway, but I'm talking about the Morgan Greer in this on this occasion. It's a beautiful, like, easy, reader. It doesn't let me down, and it wants to talk to lots of people all the time. Love that Queen of Swords too. The roses, the flowers. Yeah. It reminds me of my dad, these mustached, men, mustachioed men. One of my favorite devil cards. It doesn't ever fail me. Like, I never am at a loss for words when I'm reading with the Morgan Greer. It's just really easy. It's just a really easy go-to. Bud. It's a bud. It's a super buddy friend of mine. So that is the Morgan Greer Tarot, a deck that's simple, accessible, and gets the job done. So the next category is called the Pour Over, a deck that you need to take your time with, but totally worth the effort. So there are so many decks that I could have chosen for this particular category, like Thoth Tarot, the Wildwood Tarot. Basically for me, this means any deck that kind of veers from the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. For me, which is the first system I learned. It's the first system of tarot that I learned. So anything that goes its own direction, away from the way that I learned the tarot to begin with, is something that I need to take my time with. And the Primordial Tarot definitely does. I had wanted this deck for some time. When I first brought it out to use, I was immediately, aware that this was not going to be the type of deck that I could just break out of its box and use without some study and investigation and spending time with it. It does come with a guidebook because it's a low Scarabeo. So it has a guidebook, but it's deceiving, because it has all the other languages. So it's a small guidebook, but there's plenty in here. It veers, I'll just start showing you the deck. It veers completely away from the Waite-Smith. So like the majors are all with these black outlines, and then the minors are different colors, but they don't follow the colors as you would necessarily imagine. Like the elements don't line up. So like blue is not cups. It's different. I don't even remember exactly what is what now. I'd have to look in the guidebook because this is a deck that needs time, that needs study. I'd have to work with it for quite a while to really kind of memorize its particular structure. The courts are renamed. Many of the majors are renamed. There are these amazing images. This artwork is so cool. But it is not, obviously not your Waite Smith image. So it has these like close-ups of these primordial characters. There are, you know, animals in here, bones and different kind of things that are like that are artifacts. And the guidebook has like a kind of like a picturesque like story or scene that it describes for each of the cards, which is related to the meaning of the tarot that I know, but it does go, you know, in different directions. It like has like a it has like the same sort of starting point, the same sort of foundation, but then it moves, you know, it moves its own way. So this is the type of deck that it needs time. It needs to be worked with kind of on its own. You know, I had been pairing it with Oracle and it was good, but I just didn't, I didn't feel like I was giving the deck its fair, like, its fair shake or its due, because it needed me to sit with it more, to really learn it, to really get the messages from it, to really feel connected to it. But it's an amazing, cool deck, and I am wanting to spend more time with it, and I will. It's just, it's not its season for me right now, but I'm definitely hanging on to it and plan to in the future, you know, pour over it. Pour over the Primordial Tarot. So a deck that you need to take your time with, but that's totally worth the effort. Okay, next we have the Cafe Latte, which for me would be cafe con leche, basically coffee with milk. And this is a deck that's well received and highly palatable. So I went and chose the Tarot of the Hidden Realm. It's not, I mean, I see this deck often and all the time, but not like so much necessarily as others, but still every time I see this deck being shown off on anyone's channel, it's really well received. Like most people really enjoy this deck. It is a Llewellyn publication, so it comes, you know, with the big Llewellyn box, and it has the beautiful guidebook with full color images. And the guidebook, this is one of the best guidebooks in my opinion. There's a narrative that's incredibly poetic for each of the cards, and it's highly palatable. Some people call this the deck of faces. It is because it is these close-ups of these fairy fae creatures, and it's just an easy, even though it's not scenic, rather it's portraits, it really does convey the message of the tarot, and it's very easy to take that in, you know, so palatable, it's easy to swallow and understand. And it's presented in a, you know, somewhat haunting, but still beautiful narrative. You know, it's presented in this like kind of beautiful narrative with each of these characters. The animal, yeah, there's only animals in the aces, and I love them. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to get to know this deck even better each time I use it. I typically use this one in the springtime, which is when I use other fairy and fae type decks. But yeah, it's one of my favorites for sure. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I really, really love it. It's just a really good, really easy, really lovely experience to read with the with this deck. And oh, I guess I'll show. I edged mine all in gray, so it matches the backs. So yeah, so that is the Tarot of the Hidden Realm, a deck that's well received and highly palatable. The next category is the Cappuccino, a deck that's classic, sophisticated, and maybe a bit fussy. And I chose the Jonasa Jaus Jumbo, Jonasa Jaus 6 Jumbo. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I believe that Jonasa Jaus is a Spaniard, so that's how you would pronounce the J's. In any case, this is the 6th printing. And Jonasa Jaus, I think she's on 7 or 8 of this particular deck. It's changed in size. It's changed in coloring. It is definitely a classic in terms of your independent decks. Like I've seen it a lot, and I know it's a deck that people want. It's a classic because it's a Marseille inspired tarot. It's very sophisticated for sure, and it's very fussy. I'd say it's fussy because she's done so many different things with it. Like this deck wants to be lots of different colors. It wants to be lots of different sizes, but I got the jumbo because that was what was available at the time. And yeah, it was an investment for sure, but it's also fussy because it is giant. So I'm going to try to get it all on camera. I love this deck. It is not an easy deck for me to wield and use, but it's gorgeous. I mean, you can see how beautiful. Let's see if I can get, you know, it is Marseille. I did download the PDF of the guidebook, which is translated. It's translated, so it's kind of hard to read. It's a little choppy. It's a little bit, difficult to read. So that's a fussy bit too. Mostly when I read with this deck, I use my intuition, and I do plan on studying Marseille more in depth at some point. Look at that Fool card. That's amazing. But purple's my favorite color. This color palette speaks directly to my soul. I just love it so much. Yeah, it's something that I think will open up more for me when I have a better understanding of the Marseille tradition, but I can read with it. I can read with it with what I already have and already know. Although it's a little bit fussy. I love these nighttime scenes. I know that typically when Jonasa Jaus reprints, it goes super fast. So make sure if you want to know more about this deck and her other decks that you sign up for her newsletter. So yeah, so that's the Jonasa Jaus 6 Jumbo. It is the Cappuccino, a deck that's classy, classic. Oh, it's classy too, but it's classic, sophisticated, and maybe a bit fussy. The next category is the Mocha, a deck that's rich, indulgent, and a bit extra. So for this category, I chose one of my favorites, but one of the decks that is, probably the most extra to work with is the Surrealist Tarot. And that is because this deck is composed of Surrealist art, which now we've all heard me say before, I'm not a art historian, art expert in any way, but Surrealist art draws me in, draws me to it. It is incredibly intricate. There's so much to look at in every single card. There's illusion, it's surreal, right? Obviously, nothing makes sense. Where do things begin and end? Where is it a person? Is it an illusion? Is it a structure? Is it underwater? Is it in the sky? Where are we? What is happening? And, it's a ride and it's a bit extra and it's not an easy deck to read with by any stretch of the imagination. It is a deck that is indulgent. Like the category. The reason why I chose it is indulgent is a great word for this deck because it's the type of deck that you can indulge yourself by like completely stepping into this crazy surrealistic world, and imagine yourself, you know, melting or moving or hiding, you know, inside these places. It's a total trip, basically. It's a total trip to some other place, and it's an investigation of the mind and an investigation of the soul and heart and all things, you know, kind of otherworldly. It's a definite trip. It's very, very extra and out there and beautiful though. I could have put this for the one that is worth the effort to take your time with. But for sure, this is the Mocha, the Surrealist Tarot, a deck that's rich, indulgent, and a bit extra. So the next category is the Cortado, a deck that's balanced and objective. So Cortado is a type of drink that it means cut or split in Spanish. It's half and half. It's half coffee, half milk. And for that, I chose the Mountain Dream Tarot. Now, I just recently showed off this deck in my last video where I read a poem of mine. I'll link to that in the cards as well. This deck, but I didn't get to talk about it. I just showed it off. This deck is amazing. I freaking love this deck. It's got a history and a story because it is photos. It was done all by hand. And this is a deck from I want to say the early or mid 70s. Anyway, not to talk too much about the like photo manipulation because I honestly can't remember, but if you go to the website that I'll leave in the link below, you can read more about how this deck was put together. But so in its use, so I told you guys, you know, a few weeks ago that I'm spending this month of January, and February studying, the I Ching, hexagrams and I have a lovely group of wonderful study buddies that I'm working on that with. And I've been using this deck to do some readings alongside, my study materials. And it's been like the most amazing, perfect deck for that. It's just, yeah, it's like 100% balanced. It's objective. It's a photo, Rider-Waite Smith. And it is like, it's funny too. There's things about this deck that are like hilarious, but it's completely objective and balanced. Like it is not anything but. Like it's just there to give you its answer, you know, and it's coming from itself. It's not like, it doesn't feel like it's coming from anywhere else, you know. It's definitely giving me my mirror, you know. It is, yeah, it's just a beautifully wonderful deck that like it just feels familiar, but it feels what is the word? Like it feels familiar, it feels nostalgic too, obviously, but it's just, yeah, it's just a spot on, very truth oriented, like here you go. And it's been balancing my understanding of the I Ching really, really well, also. So yeah, so that is the Mountain Dream Tarot. It didn't come in a box. It came in this bag. So it's the Mountain Dream Tarot, a deck that is balanced and objective. Next category is the CON PANNA, a deck that puts you in your place, but with a hint of sweetness. So for this category, I chose the Star Seeker Tarot, and I love this deck a lot. And I've been using it in, yeah, like the last couple months. I've been using this deck quite a bit. It's just one of those decks that I grab. I grab it all the time for all different kinds of things. It definitely does put me in my place. It's very straightforward, but it does have a hint of sweetness, and I'll show you why. Because of the artwork, I think specifically, and the color palette, it's these really like beautiful, soft, kind of celestial grays, blues, purples, greens, and it is a definite Rider-Waite-Smith inspired deck, sometimes clone-ish, I don't know, sometimes not. But it is, yeah, it is very straightforward. It doesn't mess about. It definitely, it's very tuned into the energy of the time, of where I'm at the moment. I've paired it with, I think I've shown you that before. I paired it with this Phenomena Oracle as well, and that's been like super cool. The pairing just like works really well together. The deck doesn't really it's in my face. It puts me in my place in a way that's like, you know, friendly, because these characters feel friendly. They feel loving, but they also feel very, you know, like that friend who's just like, hey, I got your back, but you know, calls you out on your stuff. And that's what this deck feels like. I mean, it has that, you know, that cosmic vibe. I mean, it's earthy and cosmic at the same time, which I think is really cool. It just has like a very good sense of knowing what I need. And how to tell me what I need and how to show me. It's also, you know, this, the version that I have, there's a traveler size, I think too. But the version that I have is that rose petal finish. So it's like really soft. It feels good in the hand. It's not fun to shuffle, but it really just feels good to hold. So yeah, so that is the Star Seeker Tarot, a deck that puts you in your place, but with a hint of sweetness. So the next coffee house deck is the Chai Latte, which I don't drink. I'm a coffee person. I don't drink tea kind of at all. Maybe some iced tea, but that's it. So the Chai Latte is a deck that's warm, cozy, and nurturing. So I really kind of just homed in on the word nurturing, and I chose the Mythical Goddess Tarot because if there's any deck that is my mother, my goddess, my, you know, my lights, and my inspiring, you know, it's very motherly. This deck is taking care of me 100%. And it is, yeah, it's beautiful. So this is the Mythical Goddess Tarot. Let me show you. The backs are really cool. And I edged mine in these multicolors. This deck has been around for a while, and it has, the majors are all goddesses and in purple, and then all the minors are you know, associated with their element. It has keywords. This deck is, yeah, it's the goddess. It's that you know, that mother energy that, you know, that enfolds. It takes care of you. It is helpful, it's advice, it's loving, it's supportive. It is, yeah, 100% warm and cozy. There are, you know, obviously it's a tarot, so it has difficult ideas and concepts, but it gives you such a wonderful outlet to process your stuff. The artwork is just really sweet and beautiful. The guidebook is amazing. I haven't, oh God, I need to work with this deck again. I used it a while ago and I haven't played with it. I haven't used it and played with it recently. I've been working with Dark Goddess energy recently, so this one hasn't been calling to me, but I love this deck so much. I love the colors. I love it's soft and vibrant at the same time. Yeah, it is all the goddesses. Well, not all the goddesses, but it really does feel like it encapsulates like so much of that divine feminine energy. That's a little weird, those eyes. But yeah, Mother Mary, like, you know, you get the picture. This is a nurturing, a mother's hug deck for sure. So the Mythical Goddess Tarot is a deck that's warm, cozy, and nurturing. So the next coffee house deck is the Matcha Latte. And I'll tell you right now, I like Chai Latte. I don't do matcha, but I think that's it's a green tea. It's not my jam, but you know, whatever. So the Matcha Latte is a deck that's an acquired taste or a bit unconventional. So it is, well, matcha is not unconventional for some folks, but green tea, like I guess here in the United States, is unconventional and different. And I think it has kind of I want to say like very earthy flavor, but I might be thinking of yerba mate as well. But anyway, matcha. But anyway, the deck. Let's talk about the deck. The deck that I chose for this category, as you can see, is the Scorpio Sea Tarot. Now, this is a deck that I don't see very often around the channels that I watch. Probably because it is a deck that's an acquired taste. It's a bit unconventional. It's a little bit different. This was not love at first sight, this deck. I edged mine in blue. It wasn't love at first sight, but it grew on me really quickly. It is inspired by, but not necessarily, like tied to the book by Maggie Stiefwater, The Scorpio Races, I believe is the name of the novel. But it's a deck that is full of characters that live in this seaside village. And you can see it's totally not Waite Smith. It's Waite Smith inspired, but it is, it's driven by these characters. It's driven by these animals. It's driven by this artwork, these faces, this scene. It's minimalist and portraits, and it's beautiful. And it's one of my absolute favorite decks. I think this is a deck that I've mentioned before as a deck that I like to use only for myself and not with, to read for anyone else. It really just goes outside of the box. It's, I think I talked about it too. It reminds me of Pete's Dragon, the live action Disney Pete's Dragon, that seaside town and the lighthouse and oh my God, I love that cow. Look at that cow. Okay. But yeah, this deck is weird. It's different. It's unexpected. It's unconventional and it's an acquired taste. I think that for someone new to tarot, this would take a minute to grow on you, but I think it's totally worth it. I definitely think it's totally worth it. If this is a deck that you have and that you're considering rehoming, I highly recommend taking it out again, spending some time with the guidebook and getting to know these characters from like a kind of a more intuitive way, than like trying to put the Waite-Smith in it too much. That's what I would say if you're like uncertain about this deck. But I just love it. Like, I see the story, it unfolds, and like I said, I don't think it was love at first sight. I think it took its time. I took my time with it. I bonded with this deck. It's one of my first decks. One of the first decks I edged. Like, I bonded with this deck a little bit over time. So that is the Scorpio Sea Tarot, a deck that's an acquired taste or a bit unconventional. All right, so our next coffee house deck is the hot chocolate, which I don't drink either. I'm not a big fan of hot chocolate, although I did love the chocolates in Spain with churros. Like, it's like this, oh my gosh, it's not really a drink. It's like really just like dipping fried dough in chocolate. Which, you know, I feel like that description and chocolate just in general, and hot chocolate, like, is definitely appropriate for this category, because the hot chocolate is a deck that speaks to a younger version of yourself. So it is all the nostalgia, all the childhood feels, and I picked this tarot deck for pretty obvious reasons, and I think a lot of people get this deck specifically for inner child work, to tap into and connect with a younger version of yourself. So this is the Stolen Child Tarot. This deck, I adore this deck. Like I said, this deck is, I don't know that I sought out inner child work when I got this deck. I know it's based on a poem, so that was attractive to me as well. But when it came into my life, I knew that this was my inner child. This artwork reminds me of my imagination, as well as books, stories, movies, TV shows, cartoons, you name it. It has the flavor of my childhood in the 80s, and makes me think of my siblings growing up. It definitely transports me, takes me away to this, the fairyland, with these creatures, these children who are morphing into animals, these animals who are enveloping children. It is, I love the Emperor and the Empress. They're like my favorites. It is a very beautiful, deep, haunting experience, but nostalgic. You know, it's got these white borders and these pastel colors, but there's some like serious, kind of creepy and scary things that are happening here too, which, you know, this can be like childhood, you know, things can be scary. It does not follow a traditional Waite-Smith imagery in any way, but it is a 78 card tarot deck. There's the suits are renamed. It's weird because there's like water when it's, you know, in the what they've renamed as the wand suit. Like, this deck takes some time to work with. There is a PDF guidebook that you can download. I absolutely connect with this deck as a deck that taps into and speaks to a younger version of myself. So that's the Stolen Child Tarot, a deck that speaks to a younger version of yourself. The next coffee house deck on the list is called the Italian Soda, which I'm totally down for soda. I will definitely, I'm not sure that I've had flavored Italian sodas. Maybe. Anyway, to the deck. It is a deck that's fun, low key, and not overly serious. So this is a beautiful bag made by my friend Dawn Michelle that she gave to me to house the, you guessed it, Disney Villains Tarot, which I totally bought because of Dawn Michelle. And I absolutely love this deck. The Disney Villains Tarot is a good time. It is, you know, I mean, it's villains, but they don't take themselves too seriously, although this is a very functioning tarot deck. But for me, it's a good time. This is a deck that I have used with my daughter that we play with. It's fun. It's low key. It's easy. It is definitely a tarot deck. It's not too pippish because it's one of those Insight Edition decks. But like, to my surprise and delight, as you know, advised or you know, as I heard from Dawn, the pips, like the minor cards are pips that are, you know, that you can read, that are not just, you know, lazy. They have, you know, they have the symbolism there. They have the story there. They have a, not necessarily a scene, but they have emotion behind them. Pips with feeling, like they say. And yeah, but this deck is just like super fun. It is super easy for me to read because I know my Disney movies from my youth, with my nieces, with my students, with my daughter now. Disney, you know, is in our home, definitely. And yeah, this deck is just one of those decks that is a good time. It's low key, it's fun. It's definitely something that I think that my daughter might snag away from me. But yeah, so that is the Disney Villains Tarot, a deck that's fun, low key, and not overly serious. Alrighty, so last on the list of coffee house decks, we have the Herbal Tea, which I can tell you, I do not drink. I already mentioned I'm not a tea person. I'm a coffee person totally. I don't know. My partner, he sometimes drinks tea. But anyway, Herbal Tea. This is let's talk about what the deck category is now too. It's a deck that takes things down a notch or helps you unwind. Yeah, so this is the Tarot of Light. And this is 100% a nighttime, sleepy time, unwind, a comforting, like, transitional deck. It helps me go from one pace from a fast pace to a slower pace. It's also a like interpersonal relationship and kind of love feeling deck, but it is the deck that came into my mind for this category because it's a deck that I often use at bedtime, that I've often used before I go to bed. And I modified my version, so it had borders all around and I just trimmed off the borders, but kept the titles at the bottom. It is, oh my gosh, I have the box. It is Tony Carmine Salerno's artwork, who is some artwork that you'll see across different Oracle decks as well. I don't have any of those. This is it for me. I love this deck. And I know that some of the images are repeated other places, so I heard that, so I just haven't gotten into any of those decks. The suits are renamed. It's this soft imagery of these characters in, you know, that are angels. It's gorgeous. This is a low key unwind, like get ready for sleep, ask for guidance, feel the kind of love and support that you need to, you know, soothe yourself, kind of get rid of all of that like noise from the day, and help you, you know, sleep. It's, you know, like it is very, it's very kind. It's very soothing. It's, yeah, exactly the type of deck that I like to use prior to getting ready for bed. So yeah, so that's it. That is the Tarot of Light, a deck that takes things down a notch or helps you unwind. Okay, so I'm playing with my cafetera again. That's it. We did it. That was a lot of decks. 13 categories for coffee house decks. That was super fun to do. I'm a total coffee junkie. I absolutely loved making connections between types of coffee drinks with my tarot decks. I really want to thank, I'm going to put the original below in the description box below. I believe it was AdmistTheGrey who did this coffee house decks tag. I'm sorry I didn't say that at the start. But yeah, thank you to AdmistTheGrey for creating this really fun tag, and thank you all for sticking around with me. I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye now.